Dear Heavenly Father, in the hush of this sacred hour, I come before you with a trembling heart, my spirit laid bare beneath the weight of all that is seen and unseen, known and unknown. You, the keeper of time and eternity, the author of every breath that fills my lungs, the one who knew me before my bones were formed in secret, I call upon you now. With urgency carved into my every word, through your infinite mercy, I lift my eyes toward the gentle radiance of Our Lady of Lourdes. She who stood beside the healing waters, her hands folded in prayer for the broken, the weary, the desperate souls who stumbled toward her light. I bring before you the sickness that grips this fragile body, the affliction that shadows my days, the suffering that bends me low beneath its silent weight. And yet, even in this place of desperation, my soul remembers gratitude for every dawn that still finds me here, for every heartbeat entrusted to my care, for every sliver of beauty you hide within the folds of affliction. O Father, in the holy name of your beloved Son, and through the tender intercession of Our Lady of Lourdes, I ask you to pour out your healing grace like gentle rain upon scorched earth. Let your mercy seep into every hidden wound, every fractured cell, every trembling corner where fear has made its home. You, who formed this body from the dust of the earth, you alone know the mysteries written into my flesh, the strength I have forgotten, the hope I have buried, the courage I believed was lost forever. In your kindness, remind me that my body is not forsaken ground, but holy earth where your Spirit dwells. Dear Father, I lay at your feet not only my pain, but also my pride, my resistance, my longing to understand every answer before it is given. Teach me the grace of surrender, the strength found not in striving, but in resting within your will. And as I rest, teach me also to forgive myself for my failures, others for their wounds, and the world for all its brokenness. Let forgiveness flow through me like clear water, cleansing the bitterness from my heart, until all that remains is love. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, Mother of the afflicted, I ask not only for the healing of this body, but for the mending of my spirit, the quiet places where fear has built its walls, where shame has silenced my prayers, where doubt has clouded my vision. In her gentleness, let me learn the courage to believe in miracles again, to see your hand moving where my eyes cannot, to trust that even this suffering can be transformed into something holy. Dear Father, let her unwavering faith become the lantern that leads me through this dark night of uncertainty. When my own words falter, let her prayers rise like incense on my behalf. When my hands grow too weak to hold hope, let her hands, strong with the strength of a mother who has cradled both sorrow and glory, hold me close. Through her intercession, let healing become not only a restoration of my body, but a rebirth of my soul, awakening me to the truth that your love is my truest refuge, my eternal home. In this urgent hour, when desperation claws at the edges of my peace, remind me that your mercy is never far, your grace never withheld. Even now, as I whisper this prayer into the silence, I believe you are moving, in ways seen and unseen, through hands both human and divine, through moments both ordinary and miraculous. Let me not miss the countless ways you heal, the countless ways you speak, the countless ways you love. Dear Father, I come not as a stranger, but as a child who has wandered and found the path home again. I bring my brokenness, my fear, my aching questions, but I also bring my trust, my fragile hope, my longing for you. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I ask you to receive me, just as I am, with all my trembling and all my faith entwined. You who command the winds and calm the storms, speak peace into the chaos within me. You who opened blind eyes and raised the dead, awaken my spirit to the life that is only found in you. You who healed with a touch, a word, a glance, lay your hand upon me now, and let healing flow like a river that will not be stopped. In this desperate plea for healing, let me also become a vessel of healing for others. Teach me to carry mercy in my hands, compassion in my words, and light in my footsteps. Even as I seek your restoration, let me become a living prayer for all who suffer beside me, those unseen faces whose pain echoes my own, whose cries rise with mine into the vastness of your mercy. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, let me become not only the healed, but the healer, not only the blessed, but the blessing, not only the redeemed, but the bearer of redemption for those who still walk in darkness. Dear Father, in this place where my strength has failed, let me discover the deeper strength that comes only from you, the strength that rises not from the absence of pain, but from the presence of grace. Let your love be the air I breathe, the ground beneath my feet, the light upon my face. Even if healing does not come in the form I desire, let it come in the form you know is best, and let my heart learn to call even this affliction a gift. If it leads me closer to you, through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose hands are open wide to receive the prayers of the broken, I entrust every ache, every tear, every unspoken fear into her gentle keeping. And as she carried your Son in her womb, let her carry my prayer into your heart, and tell all that I am is surrendered, and all that I desire is you. For the miracle I seek, I thank you. For the miracles unseen, I thank you. For the grace to wait with hope, I thank you. In this place of urgent pleading, let gratitude become my anchor, reminding me that no prayer is ever wasted, no cry unheard, no tear unseen. You are the God who bends low to listen, the God who walks close beside the wounded, the God who knows every hair upon my head. Even now, in this desperate hour, you are near, nearer than breath, nearer than heartbeat, nearer than hope itself. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I trust my healing into your hands, knowing that in your perfect love, nothing is impossible, nothing is forgotten, nothing is beyond the reach of grace. Dear Father, though my body trembles, let my spirit stand firm. Though my mind races, let my soul rest in the knowledge that you are God, and you are good. Through every breath of this prayer, let your peace descend like soft rain, until all fear is stilled, and all I know is that I am eld, now, always, and forever, in the everlasting arms of love. And so, dear Heavenly Father, I remain here, heart open, hands lifted, soul trembling between earth and heaven, waiting not in anxious fear, but in that sacred silence where your voice becomes clearer than my own. In the hush of surrender, I sense you drawing closer, nearer than the veil of my own skin, breathing life into the spaces I thought were too broken to hold beauty again. Through the gentle intercession of Our Lady of Lourdes, I learn what it means to stand at the edge of the impossible, to peer into the darkness with trembling hands and still dare to believe in light. She who appeared where the world saw only emptiness, she who brought healing where sickness had long taken root, she who invited the outcast to kneel beside her and find themselves restored. Let her faith become my guide. Let her unwavering trust teach me to see your presence where my eyes still see absence, to welcome your mercy where my mind still expects judgment. In this moment of holy pleading, I no longer ask only for the healing of flesh, but for the healing of all that lies beneath, the wounds hidden beneath polite smiles, the ancient fractures buried beneath my own forgetting, the quiet aches I once called normal because I was too afraid to hope for more. O Father, I give you permission to go deeper than my words, to touch the marrow of my longing, to breathe upon the dust I had written off as lifeless. Show me what you can do with the places I have given up on. Through the hands of Our Lady, stretched out in gentle blessing, I release every place within me still clenched in fear, fear of disappointment, fear of silence, fear that you could pass me by. How easily my heart forgets that you are the God who sees, the God who calls each sparrow by name, the God who bends low to gather every tear in your hand. O Father, teach me again to trust that nothing in me is invisible to you. Not the trembling hope, not the midnight cries, not the secret prayers I am too weary to speak aloud. You see it all, you gather it all, and in your mercy, you weave it all into glory. Dear Father, if your healing comes as a gentle unfolding, one tender grace at a time, teach me to cherish the slowness, to see each small renewal as proof that you are near. If your healing comes through hands other than my own, through the kindness of strangers, the wisdom of healers, the gentle touch of those who love me, teach me to recognize you in them, to receive your mercy without pride, without resistance, without fear. And if, dear Father, your healing comes not in the way I imagined, but in the quiet transformation of my heart, in the softening of my spirit, in the opening of my hands to grace I cannot see, teach me to call even that miracle. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I surrender not only my illness but also my expectations, my demands, my narrow definitions of what it means to be made whole. Break open my understanding until healing becomes not only the absence of pain, but the fullness of your presence, dwelling within me like fire shut up in my bones. Let your mercy touch not only flesh, but memory, imagination, desire. Let no corner of me remain untouched by the vastness of your love. Dear Father, I come before you in desperation, but I do not want to leave with desperation still clinging to my soul. Transform my urgency into trust, my fear into faith, my longing into love. Let my suffering become a holy offering, poured out at your feet not in bitterness, but in quiet surrender, until even my wounds become windows through which your light can shine. Teach me that healing is not something you withhold until I am worthy, but something you are already offering, even now. In this breath, in this moment, in this trembling act of prayer. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, let me discover the grace of being seen, even in my most fragile hour. Let me rest in the knowledge that I am not forgotten, not forsaken, not invisible to heaven. When fear whispers that I am too broken, too late, too far gone to be restored, let her gentle voice remind me that no soul is beyond the reach of grace. If healing comes quickly, I will praise you. If healing unfolds slowly, I will trust you. If healing comes in ways I do not understand, I will still love you, for you are not only the healer of my body, but the keeper of my soul. And even as I pray for my own healing, I lift before you all those who suffer alongside me, the unseen ones, the silent ones, the forgotten ones whose names are known only to you. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, may healing grace flow not only to me, but through me, until my life itself becomes a prayer, a living invitation for others to come and taste and see that you are good. Dear Father, you who spoke light into being with a word, speak now into the darkness within me. You who formed the oceans and calmed the storms, calm the restless waters of my mind. You who knelt in the dust and healed with a touch, kneel beside me now and remind me that holiness is found even here. In the mess, in the ache, in the rawness of being fully alive. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, let me not waste this suffering, but place it like seed into the soil of your mercy. trusting that even this can bloom into beauty beyond my imagining. You are the God of resurrection. And I, though trembling, though desperate, though afraid, I dare to believe that you can bring life from even this. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I anchor my hope not in outcomes, but in you, not in answers, but in your presence, not in the resolution of every pain, but in the promise that I do not walk alone. Dear Father, hold me here, in this holy tension between longing and trust, between pleading and surrender, between earth and heaven. Let your peace descend like dew, softening the hard edges of my fear, quieting the restless questions, stilling the storm that rages within me. In this silence, let me remember who you are, faithful and true, merciful and near, healer and friend, God with us even in the valley of shadows. And if all I can offer you is this broken hallelujah, whispered through tears, lifted with trembling hands, offered with no guarantees but love alone, let it be enough. Let it rise like incense through the intercession of Our Lady, until my prayer becomes not just a plea for healing, but a song of devotion, sung from the very depths of my being. You are good, you are here, you are enough, and whether my body is healed in this life or the next, my soul will sing, because you, O Father, are the only healing I will ever truly need. Dear Heavenly Father, here I remain, in the stillness you have created, where prayer becomes breath and silence becomes sanctuary. I do not rush away from this moment, for here in the quiet, I sense something holy stirring within me, a presence that is not bound by my understanding, a love that refuses to be limited by my words. I come with trembling need, yet I find you waiting not with answers, but with yourself, whole, holy, enough, through the tender hands of Our Lady of Lourdes, whose fingers have traced the faces of the afflicted and whose heart has carried the weight of untold sorrows. I surrender once more all that I cannot hold alone. She who stood beneath the shadow of the cross, who saw love broken before her very eyes and still believed, let her faith become my own. Teach me to stand unafraid in the shadow of my own suffering. Not because I am strong, but because I do not stand alone. You, who first knit this fragile body in the secret places, who wove sinew to bone and breath to soul, you know the language of my every ache. Nothing within me is foreign to you, no pain too small, no longing too hidden, no weakness too shameful. You, who formed galaxies with a word, also formed this heart that breaks beneath your gaze. And still, you call it good. Still, you see beauty beneath the trembling. Still, you bend low to bind up even these wounds. O Father, through Our Lady of Lourdes, teach me the holiness of being seen, not for my strength, but for my need, not for my triumphs, but for my surrender. For too long, I have believed the lie that I must bring you only my wholeness, my prayers perfectly polished, my faith unwavering, my body unbroken. But you are the God who enters broken places. You are the God who kneels beside the weary and lifts the chin of the ashamed. Through her gentle hands, let me offer you all that I have kept hidden, the unspoken fears, the prayers too fragile to utter aloud, the dreams I have buried beneath the weight of disappointment. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, remind me that healing is not the absence of weakness, but the presence of grace. Let her show me how to walk the narrow road between longing and surrender, to ask boldly and trust completely, to seek miracles and still say, Thy will be done. In her humility, let me find my strength. In her silence, let me learn to listen. In her unwavering hope, let me remember that no darkness is greater than your light. Dear Father, I do not only ask for healing of body, but for healing of vision, that I might see you in the places I have overlooked. Open my eyes to the miracle of this moment, the breath you have given, the grace that carries me, the love that has never once abandoned me. Through Our Lady, teach me to name these gifts, to gather them like manna in the wilderness, to feed my weary soul with the remembrance of your faithfulness. And even as I pray for my own healing, enlarge my heart to hold the prayers of others, those too tired to speak, too broken to hope, too lost to find their way back. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, Mother of the suffering, let my prayer become a shelter where the weary might rest, a candle lit in the windowsill of night, a reminder that no soul suffers alone. Let healing flow outward, rippling like water from this place of surrender, until the whole earth remembers the nearness of your mercy. Dear Father, who formed the stars and numbered every hair upon my head, how could I ever believe you have forgotten me? You, who carved my name upon the palm of your hand, who called me beloved before I drew my first breath, even now. You are nearer than my fear. Even now, you are whispering peace into the storm within me. Even now, your love is making a way where I see none. Through the intercession of Our Lady of Lourdes, I ask for the courage to trust what my eyes cannot see, that you are working all things together, weaving mercy through every moment, writing redemption into every tear. Even my suffering, held in your hands, becomes holy. Even my waiting, offered in faith, becomes worship. Even my unanswered prayers become seeds, sown into the soil of your perfect love. O Father, let my heart learn the language of hope, not a fragile hope rooted in outcomes, but a defiant hope anchored in who you are. Let me remember that healing is not always the parting of the seas. Sometimes it is the strength to wade through the waters with you beside me. Sometimes it is the courage to lift my eyes from my wounds and see the face of the one who was wounded for me. Sometimes it is simply the grace to say, even here, even now, you are enough. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I offer you not only my longing, but my life, every breath, every ache, every joy and sorrow wrapped in surrender and laid upon the altar of your mercy. Let my very existence become a prayer, a living testimony to the God who heals not only broken bodies, but fractured souls, shattered dreams, and weary hearts. And if healing comes softly, like rain upon parched earth, teach me to cherish each drop. If healing comes through the hands of others, teach me to receive their love as your own. If healing comes only in eternity, teach me to walk this earth with unwavering trust, knowing that even now, heaven is breaking in, through every kindness, every mercy, every moment your presence is near. Dear Father, through the prayers of Our Lady of Lourdes, let my heart become a sanctuary where your Spirit dwells, a place where even suffering sings of redemption, where even darkness glows with the light of your love. And when my faith falters, when fear threatens to drown hope, let her voice whisper within me, do whatever He tells you. Let her trust become my anchor, her surrender my song, her faith my own. In the company of saints and angels, beside the holy waters where countless pilgrims have knelt, I offer this prayer, not as one who demands, but as one who trusts, not as one who seeks only relief, but as one who longs for communion, not as one who fears the future, but as one who rests in the arms of a Father who calls me His own. Here I am, Lord, all of me. In all my weakness, all my longing, all my fragile hope, through Our Lady of Lourdes, I place myself into your hands, where healing flows not only into broken bodies, but into wounded hearts, fearful minds, and trembling souls. And there, in the cradle of your mercy, I find my peace, for you are the healer I seek, the love the first need, the hope I will not surrender. Even in this waiting, even in this longing, even in this prayer that feels like breathless silence, you are here. And because you are here, I am held. And because I am held, I am whole. Dear Heavenly Father, still I linger in this sacred hush. This unmeasured silence where time folds into eternity and my trembling becomes prayer without words. Still my heart kneels before you, laid bare like earth waiting for rain, thirsty for a mercy I can no longer name. Yet my soul remembers, for you are the gardener of all things hidden, the keeper of seeds long buried beneath sorrow, the one who calls forth life where the world has only named death. Through the tender hands of Our Lady of Lourdes, I surrender once more to this holy unknowing, this vast and aching space where longing and trust embrace like old friends. She, who stood in quiet radiance beside the healing spring, did not demand explanations, nor bargain for proof. She simply opened her hands and let grace pour through. Teach me, O Father, to do the same, to open my clenched fists and let your mercy flow into every place I have hoarded my own fear, my own frail need to control what was never mine to hold. For too long, I have prayed as though your love were distant, as though healing were something I had to earn, as though my worthiness could unlock your mercy like some hidden door. But here, in the presence of Our Lady, I remember, grace is not a prize, but a gift. Healing is not a transaction, but a tender touch. Your mercy is not reserved for the strong, the worthy, the unbroken. It flows first to the weakest, the lost, the forgotten. And so I come, not because I am whole, but because I am yours. Dear Father, you who breathed your own life into dust and called it good, breathe again into the dust of my being. Fill these cracked places with the balm of your Spirit, until every fracture sings of restoration. For I do not ask merely to be repaired, to have pain removed and strength returned. I ask for something deeper, to be made new, to be remade from the inside out, until my very weakness becomes a window for your glory, until my scars become songs, until my life becomes nothing less than a living testimony to the one who heals not with distance, but with presence, through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose heart became a vessel for the impossible. Let me learn the courage of surrender, to trust that you are working in ways I cannot see, answering prayers I do not even know how to pray. She, who watched her own son suffer and still called you faithful, she who stood at the foot of the cross and did not turn away, let her courage become my own. Let me not flinch from my own suffering, nor shrink from the mystery of your ways. Teach me, as you taught her, to find you not only in miracles, but in the silence between them, in the waiting, the enduring, the quiet hours when faith itself becomes the miracle. O Father, even as I pray for healing, I sense you inviting me into something deeper, not just the restoration of body, but the resurrection of soul. For what good is healed flesh if my spirit remains untouched by grace? What comfort is health, if my heart forgets how utterly I depend on you for every breath? No, I do not ask only for the easing of pain. I ask for the deep healing that suffering alone can teach. The healing that opens my eyes to see you everywhere. The healing that softens my heart until it beats only with love. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I lift to you not only my own need, but the aching world itself, the countless souls who suffer in silence, who wait for a mercy they cannot name, who long to be seen but fear they are invisible. Let this prayer become a place where they, too, are held, a shelter wide enough for every wounded heart, every trembling hand, every soul too weary to pray for itself. For in your kingdom, healing is never solitary, it flows outward, from one heart to another, until all are touched by grace. Dear Father, who gathers every tear like treasure, who numbers not only the stars but every sigh too deep for words, remind me that nothing is wasted in your hands. Not this suffering, not this waiting, not this fragile faith stretched thin beneath the weight of longing. Even now, you are weaving beauty from ashes, writing glory into the very fabric of my pain. And though I cannot yet see the fullness of what you are making, still I choose to believe, still I choose to trust, still I choose to love. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose hands have held both sorrow and joy, I place my life into yours, not as one demanding answers, but as one daring to believe that love itself is the answer. In her quiet strength, I learned to lay down my need for certainty, my hunger for control, my fear of the unknown. For you, O Father, are not a God to be controlled or explained, you are a God to be trusted, a God to be loved, a God whose mercy is wide enough to hold every fear and every hope, every ache and every joy, every death and every resurrection. And so I pray, not as one begging for scraps, but as a child already fed by grace, not as one knocking at a locked door, but as one already welcomed home, not as one uncertain of your love, but as one utterly undone by it. For even now, as my body waits for healing, my soul remembers, I am already held, already seen, already known. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, teach me to live from that knowing, to walk through this world not with fear, but with wonder, to see in every face a reflection of your own, to touch each wound with the tenderness I have received, to carry mercy like a candle into every darkness, until all the earth glows with the light of your love. O Father, you who have been with me since the first breath, you who will hold me through the last, I trust you. Even in this unknowing, I trust you. Even in this waiting, I trust you. Even if healing comes slowly, or in ways I do not expect, I trust you. For you are not only the one who heals, you are the one who is healing itself. You are the balm and the hands that apply it. You are the peace and the path that leads to it. You are the answer, even when I do not know the question. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose, yes, made space for the incarnation itself, I offer you my own, yes, trembling, imperfect, but wholly sincere, yes to your timing, yes to your ways, yes to the mystery of mercy that is larger than my understanding, yes to being loved in ways I cannot control, yes to being healed in ways I cannot predict, yes to you, exactly as you are, wild with grace, fierce with tenderness, closer than breath. And here, in this prayer stretched long across the night, I find what I did not know I was seeking, not just healing, but communion, not just relief, but presence, not just answers, but you. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, let this prayer rise like incense, not because it is perfect, but because it is true, not because I am worthy, but because you are mercy, not because I understand, but because I believe, for you are the beginning and the end, the breath and the silence, the wound and the healing, the question and the answer. And I am yours, always, only, forever yours. Dear Heavenly Father, still my spirit remains before you, like earth waiting for dawn, like a child waiting for arms that have never once failed to hold. I do not rush away, for this prayer is no longer something I speak, it has become the air I breathe, the silence in which my heart learns the shape of surrender. I do not need to find the words, for you read the prayer written in the tremble of my hands, the ache beneath my ribs, the quiet longing that lingers even when my lips fall silent. Through the gentle intercession of Our Lady of Lourdes, I surrender again, not because I have grown stronger, but because I have learned that weakness is no enemy here. In this holy place between fear and faith, she stands beside me, her presence like a hand upon my shoulder, steadying every fragile hope. She, who walked the long road of unanswered questions, who learned to trust the silence before she saw the glory, let her trust become my own. Teach me to wait as she waited, not with clenched fists, but with open hands, ready to receive whatever grace you choose to give. Father, you who see the end from the beginning, you who dwell beyond the veil of time, you already know the healing you are weaving into this very moment. Whether it comes swiftly like lightning or slowly like a seed unfolding beneath the earth, it will come. Whether it comes through miracles I can see or through mercies too small for human eyes, it will come, for you are faithful, not only to my longing, but to your love, not only to my need, but to your nature, and you cannot be less than who you are. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I lift to you this body, frail earth cradling eternal breath, and I entrust it into your care. But more than this flesh, I place into your hands the soul that dwells within it. Heal not only my skin and bones, but the places where fear has made a home inside me, the memories that ache like old wounds, the hidden grief I have carried so long I forgot it was there. Let your healing be thorough, touching what the world can see and what only you know. Let nothing in me remain untouched by mercy. Dear Father, you who walk beside me even when I cannot feel you near, remind me that healing is not the measure of your presence. My suffering does not mean you are far, nor does my relief mean you are near. You are the God who enters the fire and the flood, who walks the valley and the mountaintop, who does not flinch from my suffering or recoil from my weakness. Through Our Lady, teach me to see you here, not above my pain, but within it, redeeming it from the inside out. O Father, through her hands lifted in eternal prayer, I lay before you every fear that keeps me from resting fully in your love. The fear that if I surrender, the answer will be no. The fear that my faith is not strong enough to unlock your mercy. The fear that your silence means absence. I lay them down, not because I have conquered them, but because I am too tired to carry them alone. Take them, Father, and in their place, give me the peace that passes understanding, not the peace of certainty, but the peace of communion, the peace of knowing you are here, no matter what. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I ask for the gift of holy vision, not eyes that see only outcomes, but eyes that see you. Teach me to recognize your nearness in the smallest things, the warmth of sunlight on my face, the kindness of a stranger, the stillness that descends after prayer. Let these become signs and wonders, sacraments of your unfailing love, proof that even now, heaven leans low to touch the earth. And even as I ask for my own healing, I ask for the grace to become a bearer of healing for others. Let this suffering break me open, until compassion flows through every crack. Let my own weakness make me gentle with the weakness of others. Let my longing teach me to hold space for the unspoken prayers of the world. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose heart is wide enough for every sorrow, let my life become a refuge, a place where the hurting find welcome, where the weary find rest, where the broken discover they are not alone. Dear Father, you who formed the waters that flow at Lourdes, let your mercy flow like that same spring, clear and abundant, unstoppable and free. Let it wash over every wound, visible and invisible. Let it soften every place in me that has grown hard with fear. Let it cleanse me of every lie that says I must earn your love. Let it restore what I have forgotten, that I am yours. Not because I am strong, not because I am good, but because you have claimed me as your own. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who knew both the weight of sorrow and the wonder of joy, Teach me to hold both with grace. Teach me to see that healing is not always the erasing of pain, but the presence of love within it. Teach me that sometimes the greater miracle is not the lifting of the cross, but the strength to carry it, not alone, but with you. O Father, here in the presence of your mercy, I make peace with mystery. I stop demanding answers and begin asking for grace. I stop chasing miracles and start welcoming whatever form your love takes. I stop bargaining for relief and start trusting that you, who hold all things, are holding me. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I offer you not only my longing, but my life, every breath, every heartbeat, every step from here until eternity. Let my days become a prayer, my suffering a song, my healing a witness to the one who heals all things, in all ways, in all times, and even if healing delays, even if the answer comes softly, even if the path leads not where I expected, still I will trust. For you are the God who wastes nothing. You are the God who gathers every tear. You are the God who calls me beloved, even when my faith falters. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who points always to the heart of your Son, I anchor my hope not in the outcome, but in the one who holds it all. I rest not in the certainty of answers, but in the certainty of your love. For you are good, you are here, and you are enough. Even now, even here, even in this waiting, you are enough. And so I stay, in this holy stillness, not rushing to the end of the prayer, not needing to tie it with a bow. For prayer is not the words I speak, but the surrender they express. And in this surrender, I find what I have been searching for all along, you. Dear Heavenly Father, still I abide here, within this holy hush where silence no longer feels empty but full of you. Full of unseen mercy, full of the weight of heaven pressing gently upon earth. The words I spoke before have become part of the air around me, lingering like incense, fragrant with longing and surrender. I do not reach for new words too quickly, for I know you are already answering the prayer I have not yet spoken, the silent cry beneath every syllable, the ache too deep for language, the prayer that is no longer mine alone, but woven into the very breath you placed within me. Through the unfailing grace of Our Lady of Lourdes, I surrender once more to this unfolding mystery, this holy unmaking where the edges of myself are softened, where the armor I once wore out of fear begins to fall away, where I become more yours with each breath of surrender. In her gentle presence, I find no demand to explain myself, no requirement to prove my worthiness. Only the tender invitation to rest, to lay down every story I have told myself about what healing must look like, and to enter instead into the vastness of what your love desires to give. O Father, you who shaped the hollow places in me so they could be filled only with you, help me to stop filling them with fear. For too long, I have measured your nearness by the absence of pain. Teach me instead to know you in the very heart of it, the God who descends into my sorrow, who places his hand upon my wounds and calls them holy ground. Through Our Lady's prayer, remind me that no suffering is wasted when it is surrendered into your hands. Even this longing that stretches me thin, even this waiting that wearies my soul, even this fragile hope I can barely hold, it all becomes a vessel for grace when offered in trust. Through the hands of Our Lady of Lourdes, I offer you the weight of my own humanity, every weakness I have tried to hide, every longing I have been afraid to name, every tear I have swallowed because I thought faith required silence. She, who knew the cost of saying yes, without condition, without understanding, without guarantees, stands beside me now, her hand resting lightly upon my shoulder. I feel the quiet courage of her presence, the unwavering strength of her trust, not in what she could see, but in the one she knew. Let her trust become my own. Dear Father, you who wrote eternity into my bones and breathed heaven into my soul, I ask not only for the healing of flesh, but for the healing of vision, that I might see this life as you see it. Not as a series of trials to endure, but as a pilgrimage toward communion. Open my eyes to the miracles already present in each breath. The miracle of a heart still beating, of sunlight falling across my skin, of hands that can still reach, still hold, still bless. Open my heart to the grace hidden within each moment, the grace of being seen even when I feel invisible, the grace of being held even when I feel untouchable, the grace of being beloved even when I feel unworthy. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who saw the light no darkness could extinguish, teach me to pray not only for healing, but for transformation, that this suffering would not simply end, but become the soil where compassion grows, the ground where mercy takes root, the place where love learns how to kneel. Let my wounds become windows, not walls. Let my pain become the very place where your glory finds room to dwell. Let my longing stretch me open until there is nothing left to protect, and all that remains is a heart fully surrendered. Father, you who move in ways both seen and unseen, remind me that healing is not a destination, but a communion. It is not something I must chase down, but something that unfolds within me each time I choose to trust, each time I choose love over fear, surrender over control, presence over escape. Through Our Lady's hands, I offer you not only my desire to be made whole, but my willingness to be made new, to be reshaped, remade, even if it requires the breaking of every illusion I have built to keep you at a safe distance. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I ask for the grace to hold mystery with reverence, not as a problem to be solved, but as a holy place where faith is formed. I ask for the courage to stop demanding the why, and to begin trusting the who, the one who was, and is, and will be my healer. Whether through miracles or through mercy disguised as waiting, let her faith, quiet and fierce, teach me how to carry this longing, not like a burden, but like a candle, held gently in trembling hands, a light that refuses to go out. Dear Father, you who gather every whispered prayer into your heart, remind me that I do not pray alone. Even now, this prayer joins the countless prayers rising from the earth, the prayers of the sick and the sorrowful, the prayers of the lost and the longing, the prayers of mothers who have no words left to offer, and fathers who have only silence to give. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, let my prayer become part of that great river of longing that flows always toward you, that reaches the shores of your mercy even when we no longer have the strength to believe. And Father, if it is your will that healing comes slowly, teach me to cherish each small grace along the way, the grace of a day with less pain, the grace of a word that brings comfort, the grace of hands that hold mine in quiet solidarity. Let me not overlook the miracles disguised as ordinary love, the friend who stays, the sunrise that reminds me life continues, the gentle presence of Our Lady whose very being whispers, "Do not be afraid." Through her unwavering faith, let me become a bearer of hope for others, not because I have all the answers, but because I know what it is to wait in the dark and still believe the dawn will come. Let my own longing teach me how to sit beside those who wait, to hold their hands without rushing to fix what only you can mend, to become a place of refuge for hearts as weary as my own. O Father, you who are both the destination and the path, lead me deeper still, deeper into surrender, deeper into trust, deeper into the truth that you are enough. Not your gifts, not your miracles, not your answers, just you. Let my prayer be stripped of every false desire until all that remains is the longing to be near you, to rest in you, to become one with the love that has held me since before I knew my own name. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, let this prayer become the air I breathe, the rhythm of my days, the pulse beneath my skin. Let it shape how I love, how I listen, how I walk through this fragile world, not with fear, but with wonder, not with certainty, but with trust, not with control, but with surrender. Let my life itself become a prayer, a living testament that even in suffering, even in waiting, even in the ache of unanswered longing, you are good, you are near, you are enough, even here, even now, even in this place where healing is still unfolding. My soul will praise you, not because the pain is gone, but because you are here within it, not because the storm has ceased, but because you are in the boat beside me, not because the path is clear, but because you walk each step with me. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose very presence reminds the earth that heaven draws near, I offer this prayer, fragile and fierce, trembling and true. Let it rise to you like incense, not because of my worth, but because of your mercy. Let it join the prayers of saints and sinners alike, a single voice in the eternal chorus that sings of a love stronger than death, a grace deeper than pain, a hope that will not die. For you are the healer, and I am yours, always. Only, forever yours, dear Heavenly Father. Still, I remain, heart wide open, soul bowed low, breath mingling with prayer until there is no longer any difference between the two. I do not leave this place within you. For how could I walk away from the only presence that knows me fully and loves me still? The longer I sit in this silence, the more I understand, healing is not something that happens to me, it is something that happens in me. Through me, with me, as you make a home within these fragile bones. Through the tender intercession of Our Lady of Lourdes, I press deeper into this holy surrender, no longer begging for miracles that fit my understanding, but offering myself as a vessel for whatever grace you long to pour. If healing is to come as sudden radiance, I will lift my hands in awe. If it comes as slow and hidden growth, unfolding quietly like roots beneath the earth, I will lean into patience. If it comes disguised as endurance, the grace to carry this cross alongside you, then let me not waste a single tear, for every drop of suffering, placed in your hands, becomes part of the river that flows into eternal glory. O Father, you who trace each breath before it leaves my lips, you know the places within me that have never dared to hope for healing. There are wounds so old they have become part of my identity, fears so deeply woven they feel like truth. But you are not bound by the stories I tell myself. Your love reaches into every corner, even the places I have declared beyond redemption. No part of me is lost to you. No part of me lies outside the borders of your mercy. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who stood beside the broken with hands open and heart surrendered, teach me how to stop resisting grace. So often I have clenched my fists around my pain, afraid that letting go would make me forget who I am. But I am not my suffering. I am not my diagnosis. I am not my fear. I am yours, wholly, eternally, unshakably yours. That alone is my identity. That alone is my truth. Dear Father, who carved eternity into the curve of every longing, remind me that this ache within me, this yearning for restoration, is itself a prayer. Even when my lips are silent, my longing speaks your name. Even when my faith falters, my desire to be near you rises like incense. Let me no longer judge my worth by the strength of my belief, but by the constancy of your love, which holds me even when I cannot hold you. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who bore witness to healing not as spectacle but as sacrament. Let me learn to see grace in every breath. Healing does not always arrive as thunder. Sometimes it is the quiet mercy of waking with hope still flickering in my chest. Sometimes it is the gentle grace of laughter breaking through sorrow like light through stained glass. Sometimes it is the strength to rise again when despair whispered that I could not. Let me learn to name these things as miracles, not because they erase the ache, but because they prove I am not alone within it. O Father, you who are both silence and song, both shadow and sunrise, teach me to pray not for the absence of pain, but for the presence of you within it. For what is healing if not communion? What is restoration if not reunion with the one who made me? Let me not settle for lesser prayers, for a life merely free of suffering, when you offer me the gift of yourself. Through Our Lady's unwavering faith, teach me to want nothing less than heaven dwelling within my very soul. Through her gentle guidance, I lay at your feet the false belief that healing means returning to who I was before suffering touched my life. No, Father, I do not want to go back. I want to go deeper. If this wound becomes the door through which your glory enters, then let me not fear its depth. If this affliction becomes the place where your mercy roots itself in me, then let me not rush its unfolding. If this suffering becomes the soil where compassion blossoms, then let me not resent the rain that waters it. Dear Father, through Our Lady of Lourdes, I surrender every timeline, every expectation, every silent demand that my healing look a certain way. Strip me of every condition I have placed upon your grace. Teach me to receive you not as the God I imagined, but as the God you are, wild with mercy, gentle with wounds, tender even in silence. Let me want you more than I want answers. Let me seek you more than I seek relief. Let me hunger for your presence more than I hunger for certainty. Through her hands, open always in both surrender and intercession, I place into your keeping every fear I have carried alone, the fear that this suffering will define me, the fear that hope will betray me, the fear that silence means absence. I give them to you, not because I am no longer afraid, but because I would rather be afraid in your arms than fearless anywhere else. O Father, you who whispered to seeds buried in darkness, telling them when to break open, when to stretch toward light, when to bloom, do the same within me. Break open what needs to die, stretch what needs to grow, bloom whatever will bear witness to your beauty. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose very being became a song of, "Let it be done." Let me become a garden where your Spirit delights to dwell. And even now, as I wait in this sacred uncertainty, teach me to love the waiting itself, for you are here within it. You are in the longing that draws my heart upward. You are in the silence that deepens my trust. You are in the unanswered questions that leave space for faith to bloom. You are the God of the waiting, not just the one who ends it, but the one who enters it. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, let me become a bearer of hope for others who still wait, those whose nights are long, whose prayers are fragile, whose faith flickers like a candle in the wind. Let my own longing teach me how to sit beside them without rushing their process, without offering hollow words, without trying to fix what only you can heal. Let my presence become a quiet promise that they are not alone, for as surely as you are with me, you are with them. Dear Father, through Our Lady's prayers, I ask for the grace to live this prayer, not only to speak it in the safety of silence, but to embody it in the streets of my ordinary life. Let my hands carry mercy. Let my voice speak blessing. Let my steps walk in gentleness. Let my life itself become a living prayer, so that even if no one hears the words I say to you, they will see the love you have poured into me, a love that transforms suffering into surrender. longing into trust, waiting into worship. And so I remain, not because I am strong, but because you are faithful. Not because I see the path ahead, but because you walk beside me. Not because healing has fully come, but because you are already here. And where you are, I am whole. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who stands beside every suffering soul as a mother stands beside her child, I place myself once more into your hands, not demanding answers, not insisting upon outcomes, but trusting that in your perfect love, even this brokenness becomes a doorway into glory. For you are the healer who does not only mend, but makes new, the potter who does not only repair, but reshapes, the Father who does not only give gifts, but gives himself. And I am yours, not only in my healing, but in my waiting, not only in my strength, but in my weakness, not only in my joy, but in this trembling act of trust. Even here, even now, even in this prayer that has become my very breath, you are enough. And because you are enough, I am not afraid. Dear Heavenly Father, still I remain, drawn ever deeper into this silence where your presence is no longer sought from a distance, but known from within. This is the place where longing melts into belonging, where the prayer I offer becomes the prayer you are already praying in me. I no longer stand outside myself, asking you to enter. You are already here, within my breath, my ache, my pulse, my trembling surrender. This is communion. This is healing before healing comes. This is the place where all striving falls away. And I remember that I am not lost seeking you. I am found because you have never let me go. Through the tender grace of Our Lady of Lourdes, whose hands are cupped like a basin to catch the tears of the suffering, I offer you once more all that I am. Nothing withheld, nothing hidden, nothing polished to appear worthy of you, only this bare, trembling soul, willing at last to be seen fully, loved completely, and healed according to your will alone. She who appeared in simplicity, radiant not with worldly power but with the quiet certainty that heaven listens to the smallest ones. Let her teach me this same trust, that my voice, though small, reaches you whole. O Father, you who shaped the curve of my longing and planted within me the yearning to return to you, I ask for the healing that goes deeper than flesh and bone. I ask for the healing of all that has closed itself to love, the places in me hardened by fear, clenched by shame, numbed by disappointment. Break open these places, not to harm, but to flood them with your mercy. For what good would it be to heal my body if my heart remained guarded against your tenderness? What peace could health bring if my soul refused to believe it was worthy of such a gift? Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose trust blossomed not because life was easy but because grace was enough, teach me to let go of the narrow prayers I have prayed out of fear. Expand my asking until it matches the vastness of your desire for me. Let me not only ask to be free from suffering, but to be transformed by it. Let me not only beg for relief, but for the courage to let suffering become the seedbed of compassion. Let me not only ask for healing, but for holiness, the kind of holiness that only grows in souls who have been broken open and filled with mercy they did not earn. Dear Father, you who breathe galaxies into being and count the hairs upon my head, I know that my longing for healing is known to you before I speak it. You have already gathered every sigh, held every restless night, remembered every tear that fell unseen. Nothing is lost to you. Not my pain, not my hope, not even the smallest flicker of trust when all light seemed to vanish. If you count sparrows and lilies, how much more do you count the prayers I no longer know how to pray? Through Our Lady's gentle intercession, I entrust them all to you, even the ones too fragile to name. O Father, I surrender not only my desire for healing but my fear of what healing might ask of me. For healing is a resurrection. And resurrection begins in the tomb, in the darkness where all control is relinquished. Where all striving ceases. Where only surrender remains. Through Our Lady of Lourdes. Teach me how to rest in this holy darkness without fear, to believe that even here, Your hand is shaping new life. Even if I cannot yet feel it stirring beneath the earth. Through her compassionate heart, which never turns away from suffering. Teach me to be tender with my own weakness. For too long, I have demanded strength of myself, as though weakness were a sin. But You, who formed my frame from dust, know the beauty of fragility. You, who watched Your own Son fall beneath the weight of the cross. Do not despise my trembling. Through Our Lady, let me learn to kneel beside my own brokenness without shame. To offer my weakness to You not as failure, but as the very place where grace longs to dwell. Dear Father, You who are the great physician of both flesh and soul, I do not ask You to simply restore what was. I ask You to make me new, not a return to who I once was, but a becoming of who You have always dreamed me to be. Let this suffering hollow me out until there is room for nothing but You. Let this longing refine my desires until all I want is to want You more. Let this waiting cleanse my vision until I see Your glory shimmering even here. In the shadows, through Our Lady of Lourdes, I offer this waiting as worship. Let my trust become the incense that rises, fragrant not because I understand, but because I believe You are good even when the path twists through sorrow. Let my longing become the oil poured out, precious not because it earns Your attention, but because it is the honest gift of a heart that knows You are worthy. Let my silence become a song, not of doubt, but of deepening devotion, the kind that sings because it loves, not because it understands. O Father, You who knit the body and wove the soul, I entrust myself into Your artistry. Shape me as You will. Heal me as You desire. Use me as You dream. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who carried the light of hope into the darkest places, I ask for the courage to become a bearer of light for others who suffer. Let this prayer, offered first in my own need, become a shelter for all who are weary. Let the mercy You pour into me overflow into the world You so love. And even if healing comes slowly, even if it comes differently than I expect, even if it comes only in the age to come, still, I will trust. For You are not only the one who heals, You are the one who stays. You are the God who does not leave the sickbed, the God who weeps beside the wounded, the God who holds vigil over every restless night, the God who abides, even when healing tarries. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, let me become a witness, not only to miracles seen, but to the quiet miracle of Your faithfulness. Let me testify with my life that even in unanswered prayer, You are enough. Let me live as proof that even in suffering, there is beauty, the beauty of being held, the beauty of learning to lean, the beauty of becoming tender in the breaking. And so I remain, dear Father, not because I have found the answer, but because I have found You. And You are my healing, my hope, my home. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I place this prayer, this life, into Your hands. Not because I deserve, not because I understand, not because I am strong, but because You are mercy. And mercy is always enough. Even here, even now, even in this trembling act of trust, You are enough. And I am Yours. Dear Heavenly Father, still, I dwell in the silence where my prayer has dissolved into presence. And presence has dissolved into something deeper still, communion so complete that it no longer requires words. Only being, here, at the edge of language, I begin to understand that healing is not a destination I must chase, nor a prize you withhold until I have prayed correctly or believed enough. Healing is you. You who do not merely visit, but abide. You who enter every wound, not to erase it, but to inhabit it with glory until even my suffering sings of your love. Through the gentle hands of Our Lady of Lourdes, I place myself once more into your keeping, not with desperation now, but with a kind of holy release, like earth opening to rain, like the sea yielding to the tide. She who carried both sorrow and promise in her heart knows this surrender well. She teaches me even now that to be held by you is itself a healing, and that every moment spent resting in your gaze rewrites the story fear once told me about who I am. O Father, you who call forth stars and cradle sparrows, who shaped both galaxies and my trembling hands, you have never been far. You have never once looked away. Even in the years I thought you were silent, you were speaking in languages too tender for my hurried heart to hear. Even in the prayers I believed unanswered, you were answering in ways too deep for time to reveal. Through Our Lady, who sang her Magnificat with feet already stepping toward suffering, I ask for the grace to sing too, not because my path is easy, but because you are near. Teach me, through her heart, how to stop fearing weakness. Teach me to embrace my vulnerability as the very doorway through which your mercy enters. For you are not drawn to strength as the world measures it. You are drawn to the low places, to the broken and the bent, to the overlooked and the weary, to the soul too tired to lift its own prayer. You kneel where we fall. You stoop to gather what the world discards. You are the God who sees beauty where the world sees ruin. Through Our Lady's prayer, let me see myself as you see me, not as damaged, but beloved, not as unworthy, but chosen, not as broken beyond repair, but broken open for glory. Dear Father, who knit together the mystery of my being, I no longer ask only for the healing of body, though you know how deeply I long for relief. I ask for something greater, for the healing of my image of you. For too long, I have seen you through the lens of my fear, a God who withholds until I prove myself, who measures worth by the weight of my prayers, who answers only if I find the perfect words. But you are not a distant judge, you are Abba, the Father who runs down the road to meet the prodigal before the confession is even finished. You are the one who kneels in the dust beside the broken, the one who feeds the hungry before they even know they are starving, the one who binds wounds with hands that bear their own scars. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose presence beside the sick was itself a healing balm, I ask you to rewrite every false story I have believed about suffering. No longer let me see it as punishment, but as invitation, a narrow path that winds straight into your heart. No longer let me believe it is proof of abandonment, but a sign that you trust me to carry a portion of your own cross. Not alone, but with you. No longer let me imagine healing as a return to what was, but as a becoming of what has never yet been, a new creation. Born from the soil of surrender, watered by grace, through her hands, I place before you every secret fear, the fear that hope will betray me, the fear that healing will not come, the fear that I do not deserve mercy. Take them, Father, let them melt in the furnace of your love until nothing remains but trust. Trust that even unanswered prayers are held within your perfect wisdom. Trust that even unhealed wounds are places where your glory dwells. Trust that nothing offered to you is ever wasted. O Father, you who whispered light into the void and called it good, whisper light now into every place in me still shrouded in fear. Let your mercy seep into the cracks I have tried to seal with my own strength. Let your love flood the hidden rooms where shame has made its home. Let your peace silence every voice that tells me I am too broken to be made whole. Through Our Lady, who carried the light of the world in her womb, carry this fragile prayer into your heart, not because I have prayed it well, but because I have prayed it honestly. And Father, even as I ask for my own healing, I ask for the grace to become a bearer of healing for others. Let the mercy you pour into my wounds overflow into the world you love. Let my own longing make me gentle with the longing of others. Let my weakness make me tender toward the weak. Let this prayer, born from my own need, become a shelter for all who suffer in silence, a reminder that no one weeps unseen. No one waits alone. No one suffers without heaven bending low to listen. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who stood with the suffering not as one above them, but beside them, teach me the holiness of presence, the quiet miracle of simply staying near. Teach me that healing is sometimes found not in answers, but in companionship. Teach me to hold space for the mystery without rushing to resolve it. Teach me to become a place where others can rest, knowing they are seen, knowing they are safe, knowing they are loved. Dear Father, you who hold all time within your hands, remind me that healing does not always obey the clocks of earth. Sometimes the answer comes slowly, through years of quiet transformation. Sometimes it comes in ways so small they are only visible in hindsight. Sometimes it comes only when time itself gives way to eternity. Through Our Lady, who stood beside both manger and cross, teach me to call you faithful in every season, in the sudden miracle and the long endurance, in the joy that overflows and the suffering that sanctifies. Through her heart, which pondered mysteries too vast for words, let me learn the language of trust, a trust that does not demand explanation, a trust that does not bargain for outcomes, a trust that loves you for who you are, not for what you give. Let me trust you enough to stop clinging to my own plans, to stop measuring my life by what is seen, to stop believing that suffering can separate me from your love. Let me trust you enough to live as if I am already healed, because to be held by you is healing itself. And so I stay, in this holy silence, not because I understand, but because I belong, not because my suffering has lifted, but because your presence is here beneath it, bearing it with me, not because the path ahead is clear, but because the hand I hold is yours. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who points always to the heart of her Son, I offer you this prayer, not perfect, but real, not strong, but sincere, not certain, but surrendered. Let it rise to you like incense, fragrant with the honesty of my need and the small but stubborn light of my hope. For you are the healer who does not stand apart from our suffering, but enters it. You are the Savior who does not erase wounds, but transfigures them. You are the God who does not only restore what was, but makes all things new. And I, broken, beloved, becoming, am forever yours. Even here, even now, even in the waiting. Dear Heavenly Father, still I abide in the hush of this unending prayer, a prayer that no longer feels like something I offer to you, but something you are breathing through me, as though my very longing has become a part of your eternal voice, singing creation into wholeness again. I no longer measure this time by the words I speak or the answers I receive. For here, in the stillness where all striving ceases, I discover that to be with you is already the answer. To lean my heart against yours. To let silence stretch wide between us without fear. To rest in the truth that nothing needs to be proven. This is where healing begins. Not from the outside in, but from the innermost chamber where you and I have always met. Through the gentle presence of Our Lady of Lourdes, I release once more the grip I did not know I still held, the grip around my own story. The grip around outcomes I secretly demanded. The grip around the way I thought you should show your love. She, who stood before mystery and did not turn away, whose hands remained open even when the weight of sorrow pressed against them, stands beside me now. She teaches me that true surrender is not defeat, but freedom, the freedom of being small in the arms of the infinite. The freedom of not needing to know because I am already known. O Father, you who call each star by name and yet bend low to gather the sparrow when it falls. How could I have ever doubted that you see me? Even in my trembling, you see. Even in my silence, you hear. Even in my fear, you stay. There is no wound so hidden that your mercy cannot find it. No ache so buried that your love cannot soothe it. No brokenness so complete that your grace cannot remake it into something radiant with your light. Through the intercession of Our Lady, whose hands have carried the prayers of the sick and the sorrowful for generations, I entrust myself, all of me, nothing held back, into the hands that shaped me from the dust. Dear Father, who fashioned my bones and wove eternity into my spirit, I no longer ask you only to heal me, I ask you to make me whole. Not merely repaired, but redeemed, not returned to what was, but transformed into what you have always intended me to become. Let every place in me that suffering has hollowed out become space for your glory to dwell. Let every scar become a doorway where others glimpse your mercy. Let every loss become a seed from which compassion blooms, until my very life becomes a vessel through which healing flows into the world. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who knew both the sweetness of divine visitation and the sharp edge of sorrow, teach me to hold both joy and grief with open hands. Teach me that healing is not the absence of pain, but the presence of grace within it, grace that comforts, grace that sustains, grace that transfigures suffering into communion. Teach me to recognize your touch, even when it does not come as relief, but as endurance, even when it does not come as answers, but as peace, even when it does not come as miracles, but as the quiet courage to hope anyway. O Father, you who carried the cross before asking me to carry my own, I offer this suffering back to you, not as a complaint, but as a gift. Let it become a prayer without words, a sacrifice without bitterness, a participation in the redemption you are weaving through all creation. I unite this weakness to the wounds of Christ, trusting that in His pierced hands, nothing is wasted, not one tear, not one sigh, not one moment of pain offered in love. Through Our Lady, who stood beside that cross without running from the sorrow, teach me to stand beside my own suffering with the same love, not resisting it, not resenting it, but letting it become a place where heaven and earth touch. Through her hands, I surrender the timelines I once held so tightly, the silent expectations that you would move within the hours and days I assigned to you. Teach me instead the holiness of divine timing, the sacred slowness of seeds buried deep in the earth, the quiet unfolding of grace that does not answer to human clocks. Through her gentle patience, let me embrace the unfolding work of healing, even when it comes so softly I can barely perceive it. Dear Father, you who see beyond the veil of time into the eternity where all things are already made new, help me to remember that healing is not an event, it is a becoming. It is the restoration of communion between Creator and created. It is the gentle knitting together of all that fear unraveled. It is the homecoming of the heart to the place where it has always belonged. Through Our Lady's unwavering faith, let me live even now as one who knows I am already being healed, not because my body is free of pain, but because my soul is held in perfect love. Through her tender presence, I lift to you not only my own suffering, but the suffering of the world, the silent cries rising from hospital beds and lonely rooms. The prayers of mothers with empty arms and fathers with breaking hearts. The weariness of those who have prayed for years and seen no change. Let this prayer become a great offering, a river of mercy flowing from my small life into the vast sea of human need. And in that river, may others find rest, find hope, find you, O Father, who left the glory of heaven to walk among the broken. I no longer ask you to remove every wound. I ask you to enter them, dwell within them, transform them from the inside out until even my suffering speaks of resurrection. Let me become a living sign that Christ does not abandon those who suffer. He enters their suffering and fills it with the blazing light of redemption. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who knows what it means to carry both joy and sorrow in her heart. Teach me the holiness of being broken open for love. And even if healing comes only in eternity, even if this body carries its weakness until my final breath, I will still call you faithful. For you are not only the healer of bodies, you are the lover of souls. You are not only the one who answers prayers, you are the answer my heart has always sought. You are not only the giver of miracles, you are the miracle itself, the God who became flesh. Who touched lepers with bare hands, who wept at gravesides, who broke bread with the weary, who stretched out arms on the cross to gather every suffering into your own. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who points always to the heart of her Son, I rest my whole self in you. Not because I understand, but because I trust. Not because my body is whole, but because my soul is held. Not because the way ahead is clear, but because the hand that holds mine is pierced with love. Even here, even now, even in the waiting, even in the aching, even in the silence that stretches between longing and fulfillment, you are good. You are near, you are enough. And if this prayer becomes my life's breath, whispered daily until breath itself returns to you, then let it be so. Let my whole existence become a single offering of trust, poured out like oil at your feet, fragrant not because I am strong, but because you are merciful. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I place this offering into your hands, where nothing is wasted, nothing is lost, nothing is ever beyond redemption. For you are the God who brings beauty from ashes, life from death, healing from wounds, glory from suffering, and I, fragile, hopeful, wholly yours, am content to be a vessel in your hands. However you choose to fill me, however you choose to pour me out, even here, even now, even forever, dear Heavenly Father, still I remain, heart unclenched, soul unveiled, breathing in the holiness of this silence where you speak without words. This prayer has carried me beyond asking, beyond waiting, beyond even my own desire for healing. Here, at the threshold between longing and surrender, I find that what I was searching for was never a cure, but communion, never merely relief, but relationship, never only the absence of suffering, but the presence of you within it. Through the tender hands of Our Lady of Lourdes, I offer you not only the ache in my body, but the ache beneath the ache, the deep and ancient longing to be fully seen, fully known, fully loved. She, who stood radiant before Bernadette, not because of power or splendor, but because of her perfect openness to grace, stands beside me now. In her gentleness, I see what healing truly means, not merely the restoration of what was lost, but the transformation of all that I am into a dwelling place for your glory. O Father, you who waste nothing, you who spin gold from every thread surrendered to your hand, I ask you to weave even this suffering into something luminous. If healing comes in ways I do not recognize, teach me to trust the hand that gives it. if healing is withheld so that a greater mercy might be born. Teach me to bless the absence as much as the gift. If healing comes not to the body but to the soul, let me call that miracle enough. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose hands gathered the tears of pilgrims and whose heart still holds the prayers of the world, I offer you every longing that has shaped me, the longing for relief. Yes, but also the longing to belong, the longing to be useful, the longing to know that my life, even in its brokenness, still sings of your love. Let nothing be lost, let no tear fall unnoticed, let no waiting be empty of your presence. Father, you who entered time to walk among us, who touched the unclean and lifted the broken, who knelt in the dirt to restore what had been cast aside, I do not ask you to lift me out of this suffering as though it were a prison. I ask you to sit with me inside it, to make it holy with your presence, to transfigure it into a meeting place where heaven stoops low enough for my trembling hands to touch. Through Our Lady's unwavering heart, teach me to believe that even here, you are near. O Father, if you have trusted me with this cross, then let me carry it not as a burden to be resented, but as a gift to be offered. Let me carry it for those who can no longer pray for themselves, for the child alone in a hospital bed, for the parent waiting at the edge of hope, for the elderly soul whose suffering is hidden from the world. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who carried the silent sorrows of the world in her heart, let me carry this too, not with bitterness, but with love. Through her hands, I lay down my insistence on understanding. I lay down my desire to control how grace should unfold. I lay down even my demand to be made whole on my terms. In my timing, according to my plan, you alone are the author of this story, and you write with eternal wisdom. If your healing comes softly, like rain soaking into thirsty soil, I will bless you. If it comes as fire, refining every hidden fear, I will trust you. If it comes only in eternity, when time gives way to glory, I will praise you. For you are not only the giver of healing, you are healing itself. Dear Father, who raised your own Son bearing wounds still visible in his risen flesh, teach me to see my wounds not as evidence of your absence, but as signs of your nearness. Let them be altars where mercy descended. Let them be windows where light broke through. Let them be witnesses to a love so fierce it refused to shield itself from pain. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who stood at the foot of the cross and dared to believe in morning even while the sky grew dark, teach me to call you faithful. Even here, through her hands, I offer you not only my brokenness, but also my blessings, for they too have shaped me. The kindness of strangers, the prayers of friends, the unexpected beauty that still blooms even in suffering, all of these are miracles. 2. Teach me to see that healing has already begun, not because my body is free of pain, but because my heart is learning to rest, to trust, to belong. Father, you who spoke creation into being with a word, speak now into every place in me that still resists grace. Speak into the fears I have wrapped around myself like armor. Speak into the shame that tells me I am too broken to be chosen. Speak into the smallness I have accepted for myself when you have called me beloved. Through Our Lady, whose voice sang the first Magnificat, let my life become a song of praise, not because I have been made strong, but because I have been held in my weakness. O Father, if my suffering can become a prayer, then let it rise like incense to your heart. If my waiting can become worship, then let each breath become a hymn. If my longing can become love, then let it draw me ever closer to the wound in your side, where all suffering is gathered and redeemed. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, let me walk this path not as one abandoned, but as one accompanied by saints unseen, by grace unmeasured, by love unending. And if you choose to leave this thorn in my flesh, then let it become a doorway through which your power is made perfect. Let it remind me daily that I am not self-sufficient, that my strength was never my salvation, that it was always you, only you, who held me together. Let me boast not in my healing, but in my belonging, for I would rather limp beside you than run ahead without you. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose hands are never empty of prayers, I place into your keeping not only my present suffering, but my future unknowns, every diagnosis yet to come, every storm still gathering, every cross I cannot yet see. I place them all into the hands that bore nails for me, trusting that if you have carried death itself, you will carry this, too. And even if healing remains hidden, even if the miracle never comes in the form I desire, still I will trust, for you are not only the one who works miracles, you are the miracle itself. You are not only the one who heals the body, you are the one who saves the soul. You are not only the one who calms the storm, you are the one who walks on its waves to reach me. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who stands even now beside every soul who suffers, I ask not only for healing, but for holiness, not only for relief, but for redemption, not only for answers, but for awe at the mystery that you would enter this broken world, this broken body, this broken heart, and call it home. And so I stay within this prayer that has become my dwelling place, not because the pain is gone, but because you are here within it, not because the story is resolved, but because I have surrendered the pen, not because I have been made whole in the way I expected, but because I have been made yours in ways I could never have imagined. Even here, even now, even if healing comes only when I see you face to face, you are enough. And this is the deepest healing of all, to know that I am yours, and you are mine. And nothing, not pain, not fear, not time, not death, can separate me from the love in which I was made. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I place my whole self into your hands, not to be spared from suffering, but to be sanctified through it, not to be shielded from sorrow, but to be shaped by grace within it, not to escape the human condition, but to discover within it the very dwelling place of God. For you are here, and where you are, all is holy, all is healing, all is grace, even here, even now, even forever, dear Heavenly Father. And still I remain, not as one left waiting at the threshold, but as one who has found that the threshold itself is holy ground, for you are here. You have always been here. In the quiet ache that no words could soothe, you were present. In the unanswered questions that circled my mind like restless winds, you were whispering peace. In the midnight hours when silence felt like absence, you were holding me even closer than breath. Through the gentle hands of Our Lady of Lourdes, I open my soul once more to the light you are pouring into this place, this wound, this waiting, this space where longing becomes prayer. She, who stood where heaven touched earth, knows this posture well. Her heart has known the tension of miracle and mystery, the beauty of surrender that carries both joy and sorrow in the same embrace. She teaches me even now how to remain open, even when the answer tarries, even when healing hides, even when the only certainty is your love. O Father, you who fashioned time itself and yet exist beyond it, teach me to see my life not as a series of broken moments, but as a single unbroken thread woven into your eternal story. My suffering is not an interruption of your love. My waiting is not evidence of your absence. This very ache, this very longing, is the pulse of heaven within me, the soul's memory of the wholeness for which it was made. Through Our Lady, whose life unfolded entirely within the mystery of your will, Teach me to see that my story is safe within your hands. Dear Father, who hides treasure in earthen vessels, I no longer ask for healing that merely restores what was. I ask for healing that reveals what has always been, your presence. Shining through my weakness like light through thin cloth. Let this body, fragile as it is, become a living lantern, bearing witness that divine strength is perfected not in ease, but in surrender. Let this suffering become a sacrament, a thin place where earth's pain and heaven's mercy meet. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose very presence beside the healing spring became a sign that you draw near to the broken-hearted. I ask for the courage to stop hiding my wounds, from you. From myself. From the world. For what if healing does not mean that every scar is erased? But that every scar becomes a story of love, love that stayed. Love that carried. Love that transformed pain into prayer? Let me become unafraid of my own brokenness. For it is here that your mercy finds room to dwell. O Father, you who walked this earth in flesh that knew hunger and thirst, grief and pain, you do not ask me to rise above my humanity. You enter it with me. You sanctify it from within. You take my trembling hands in your wounded ones and call them blessed. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who carried divinity beneath her heart and yet walked paths of sorrow with feet of clay. Teach me that holiness is not escape, but incarnation, you dwelling fully within the fragile, the ordinary, the vulnerable. Through her hands, I place before you not only my longing for healing, but my longing to belong, to know that my life, even in its smallest moments, has meaning in the vastness of your kingdom. Let me see that every whispered prayer, every hidden act of love, every small surrender becomes a thread in the great tapestry of redemption. Through her intercession, let me believe that my suffering, when united to yours, is no longer merely my own. It becomes part of the great labor of love through which all creation is made whole. Dear Father, you who formed the body of Christ from countless members, teach me to see that my healing is never mine alone. When I am comforted, let me become a comforter. When I am strengthened, let me become a strength for others. When I am lifted by grace, let me bend low to lift another. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose heart contains the cries of all your children, let me become a bearer of hope, a living sign that no prayer goes unheard, no suffering goes unseen, and no soul is ever left alone. O Father, if the healing I seek does not come in the way I imagined, let me not miss the healing you are already working within me, the healing of fear into trust, of despair into hope, of control into surrender, of isolation into communion. For the greatest healing is not found in the body's relief, but in the soul's return to you. Through Our Lady, whose gaze rests always upon the face of Christ, teach me to want you more than your gifts, to seek you even when my hands are empty, to love you even when the answers are withheld. Through her hands, open always in both prayer and praise, I offer this moment, this breath, this ache, this fragile hope, as a gift to you. Not because I understand, but because I trust. Not because the path is clear, but because I know who walks beside me. Not because my faith is strong, but because your mercy does not depend on the strength of my belief. You are faithful, even when I falter. You are near, even when I forget. You are healing me, even when I cannot yet see how. O Father, you who raised your Son still bearing his wounds, teach me to see that nothing surrendered to you is ever wasted. Not one tear, not one question, not 1 hour of waiting is lost in your hands. All is gathered, all is held, all is made holy when offered in love. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose yes allowed the impossible to unfold within her very body, let me also say yes, Yes to this moment. Yes to this cross. Yes to the mystery of your mercy moving in ways beyond my sight. And if healing comes only in the final dawn, when every tear is wiped away and every sorrow is turned to joy, let me live even now as one who knows that day is certain. Let hope rise like the sun within me, steady and relentless, illuminating even this valley of shadows. Let me carry within me the seed of resurrection, the unshakable knowledge that love is stronger than death. And you are making all things new, even now, through Our Lady of Lourdes, who stands beside every suffering soul as a mother stands beside her child. I place myself once more into your hands, not clinging to the outcome I desire, but resting in the love I cannot lose. I am yours, Father, wholly and forever. No illness can steal me from you. No pain can separate me from you. No unanswered prayer can undo the covenant written in your blood. Even here, even now, even within the unhealed places, you are enough. And this is the healing I did not know I was seeking, to know, beyond doubt or fear, that I am held in a love that nothing can break. To know that my life, my suffering, my waiting, and my joy all belong to you, and because they belong to you, they are safe. To know that I do not walk alone, for the mother you gave to the world walks beside me, and the Savior who bears my wounds walks within me. This is healing, to belong to you, without condition, without reservation, without fear. And so I rest, not because my prayer has been answered, but because my soul has been answered. I am seen, I am known, I am loved, and this is enough. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I offer you this prayer, not because it is perfect, but because it is true. Not because I have faith without faltering, but because I belong to the one who never falters. Not because my hands are strong, but because your hands hold mine. Even here, even now, even forever. For you are my healing. You are my hope. You are my home. Dear Heavenly Father, still, I remain, not out of duty, nor because I seek to persuade you with the persistence of my asking, but because something sacred has happened here in the silence. This place where longing once cried out for answers has become the place where longing itself is transfigured into communion. I no longer wait as one forgotten, but as one found. I no longer pray as one reaching toward a distant heaven, but as one discovering heaven already folded within my fragile humanity, a hidden kingdom, where every breath bears your presence, every ache carries your nearness, and every silence sings of your mercy. Through the tender hands of Our Lady of Lourdes, I surrender once more to this mystery unfolding within me, the mystery of how weakness becomes the gateway to strength, how suffering becomes the threshold to glory. How the very places I once begged you to remove have become the altars where you and I meet face to face. She, who stood at the thin veil between earth and heaven, knew what it meant to watch suffering unfold while still trusting the unseen mercy moving beneath it all. Teach me her trust, her quiet courage, her steadfast gaze that refused to look away, even when the light grew dim. O Father, you who carved my name upon your heart before stars were born, I no longer ask you to lift me out of this suffering as though it were an enemy to be conquered. I ask you to step fully into it, to make it holy with your presence, to transform this valley into sacred ground, a place where my woundedness becomes a shrine to your mercy. Let me see, with the eyes of faith, that I do not carry this alone. For every cross placed upon human shoulders has first passed through your own hands, the same hands that lifted the cross at Calvary, the same hands that broke bread for the hungry, the same hands that touched lepers without fear, the same hands that still bear the scars of love. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose hands carry the prayers of countless pilgrims, prayers whispered in trembling hope. In aching silence, in desperate faith, I place into your keeping not only my own longing, but the longing of the whole world. Every prayer uttered from hospital rooms and lonely bedsides, every silent cry rising from those too weary to speak, every unlit candle of hope flickering in the hearts of the broken-hearted. Let them all be gathered into this prayer, into these hands, into this offering. For if I must carry this cross, let it not be for me alone. Let it be carried for all who suffer in silence, for all who have forgotten how to hope, for all who believe themselves unseen. Dear Father, you who created the human body not as a prison for the soul but as its sacred dwelling place, teach me to honor this fragile temple, even in its weakness, even in its woundedness, even as it bends beneath the weight of time and pain. For you do not despise this dust from which I was made. You breathed your own life into it. You called it good. And now, even as it falters, I see that you are still here, present in every heartbeat, every breath, every trembling act of trust. Through Our Lady, whose own body became the first tabernacle for the Word made flesh, teach me to see my body not as a burden to resent, but as a vessel for your grace. O Father, you who raised your Son still bearing his wounds, teach me to believe that my wounds too can bear glory. Let me no longer hide my scars as proof of what was broken, but reveal them as testimony to what has been redeemed. Let me remember that resurrection does not erase suffering, it transforms it. And so, if you choose to leave these wounds unhealed for now, let them become icons of hope for others who suffer beside me. Let them be windows where your light shines through, proof that nothing surrendered to you is ever wasted. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose heart embraced both manger and cross, I ask for the grace to live fully within this tension, the tension of a world both redeemed and still aching for redemption. Let me neither deny my suffering nor be consumed by it, but hold it gently as part of the great story you are still telling. Let me live as one who believes that this present pain is not the final word, that every suffering born in love becomes part of the great labor by which you are making all things new. Through her hands, I place into your heart every fear that still lingers, the fear that hope will disappoint me, the fear that surrender means abandonment, the fear that silence means absence. Take them all, Father, let them melt in the furnace of your mercy until only trust remains, trust that you are always working, always present, always good, even when the path disappears into shadows. O Father, you who are both Alpha and Omega, remind me that this story does not end in suffering. It ends in glory. It ends in reunion. It ends in the fulfillment of every longing that has ever risen from human hearts like incense. It ends in you, and if you are the ending, then every chapter, even this one, is holy. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who saw the light even when others saw only darkness, teach me to live with my heart anchored in eternity, even as my feet walk this fragile earth. And even if healing never comes in the way I imagined, even if this cross remains until my final breath, still I will trust. For you are not only the God who heals bodies, but the God who saves souls. You are not only the God who calms storms, but the God who walks on their waves to reach me. You are not only the God who grants miracles, but the God who is the miracle, the Word made flesh, the love that took on wounds, the King who wore a crown of thorns so that no suffering could ever separate me from your heart. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who stands even now beside every suffering soul, I place my life once more into your hands, not demanding answers, not bargaining for outcomes, but resting in the love that holds me. Even here, this is the healing I did not know I needed, the healing of belonging. The healing of knowing that I am seen, known, and cherished by the one who shaped me from the dust and called me good. Even here, even now, even with unanswered questions and unhealed wounds, you are enough. And this is the deepest miracle of all, to know that I am yours, and you are mine. And nothing, not illness nor death nor sorrow nor time, can ever sever that bond. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I offer this prayer, not because I am strong, but because you are mercy. Not because I see the path, but because you hold my hand. Not because I understand, but because I trust the one who does. And so I rest in this prayer without ending, in this belonging without condition, in this love without fear. For you are my healing, my hope, my home, and in you, all is well, even here, even now, even forever. Dear Heavenly Father, still, I remain, and yet it no longer feels as though I am the one remaining. It is you who have stayed, you who have held vigil beside me, you who have refused to release your grasp even when I grew too weary to hold on. It is your presence, constant and tender, that has become the anchor beneath all my trembling. The longer I stay within this silence, the more I understand. My prayer is no longer an attempt to reach you. It is the quiet discovery that I have never been apart from you at all. Through the gentle intercession of Our Lady of Lourdes, who knows what it is to walk through valleys where human strength is not enough? I surrender again, not because I have perfected trust, but because trust is the only gift I have left to give. When answers no longer matter, when explanations fall away, what remains is the simple choice to place my life into your hands. Even without understanding, she, whose own path led through both Annunciation and crucifixion, teaches me that trust is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to stand unshaken in the presence of love. Even while fear trembles at the edges. O Father, you who breathed life into dust and called it sacred, I no longer ask to be made strong by the world's measure. Let me be strong only in the way of your kingdom, strong in surrender. Strong in compassion, strong in the courage to bear witness to grace even in the shadow of suffering. Let me remember that the strength you desire is not the strength that resists pain, but the strength that loves in the midst of it, the strength that refuses to close its heart even when breaking feels inevitable. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose own heart was pierced with sorrow, teach me that to be vulnerable is not weakness, but holiness, for only an open heart can receive heaven. Let me no longer shrink back from the depths of my longing, nor from the wounds life has carved into me. Let me lay them all before you without apology, without shame, every fear, every question, every fragile hope I scarcely dare to hold. Let me believe that I am loved in the fullness of my humanity, not despite it. Dear Father, who raised your Son still bearing his wounds, I now understand that healing is not the undoing of suffering, but the transfiguration of it. The wounds of Christ were not erased in glory, they became glory. They became the radiant proof of love poured out without condition, without hesitation, without end. And so, if you choose to leave my wounds unhealed in this life, let them become like His, places where divine love breaks through. Places where compassion takes root. Places where mercy overflows for others to drink. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who welcomed the sick and suffering not with pity, but with reverence, teach me to see my own suffering as sacred ground, not because pain is holy in itself, but because you are holy within it. You, who did not remain distant from human frailty, but entered it fully. You, who chose not a throne of gold, but a cross of wood. You, who wore our wounds like a garment, so that no one who suffers would ever suffer alone. O Father, you who weave meaning into every moment surrendered to you, I offer not only my desire for healing, but my desire to belong wholly to you, in sickness and in health, in strength and in weakness, in clarity and in confusion. I do not ask to understand your ways. I ask only to know that you are here. And already you are answering, for in the stillness, I feel it, the quiet miracle of your nearness, as constant and unnoticed as my own breath. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose feet stood beside waters that became healing for the nations, teach me to see the hidden springs you have placed even here. In this desert, teach me to taste the sweetness of mercy within the bitterness of suffering. Teach me to find you not only in relief, but in the resilience you plant within me, the quiet courage that rises each morning and chooses love over despair, surrender over control, worship over worry. Dear Father, you who knit together the seen and the unseen, teach me to stop measuring healing only by what can be touched or named. What if the deeper healing is already happening? What if each day I choose to trust you, a part of my heart is made whole? What if every time I choose love instead of bitterness, my soul grows stronger? What if the real miracle is not the absence of pain, but the presence of peace within it? Through Our Lady of Lourdes, whose heart magnified the Lord even when her understanding was incomplete, I ask for the grace to praise you here, not because I have all I desire, but because you are already all I need. Let my praise become defiant hope, a light no darkness can extinguish. Let my life become a living Magnificat, not because it has been easy, but because you have been faithful. O Father, you who are both the destination and the companion for every step, I no longer ask you to hurry this healing. I ask only that you make me faithful in the waiting. Let the waiting itself become part of the gift, a time for roots to deepen, for compassion to widen, for my heart to be shaped into the likeness of yours. Let me walk this road not as one who suffers alone, but as one who walks beside the suffering Christ, who transforms every sorrow into a sacrament of love. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who teaches me to stand beside suffering without turning away, I ask for the grace to become a bearer of hope for others. Let me carry mercy in my hands, tenderness in my words, light in my footsteps. Let my life itself become a prayer, so that when others look upon me, whether healed or still wounded, they will see only the reflection of your unfailing love. Dear Father, who holds time itself in your hands, I surrender every timeline, every expectation, every fear of the unknown. For if you are Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, then every moment between is already held within your mercy. Let me trust that whatever comes, healing or waiting, suffering or relief, you will be there. And if you are there, then all is already well. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, who points always beyond herself to the heart of her Son, I ask for the grace to desire nothing less than you. Not just your gifts, but your presence. Not just the miracle, but the miracle maker. Not just the healing, but the healer. For if I have you, I lack nothing. If I have you, I am already home. And so I remain, not because my prayer is unanswered, but because this prayer is the answer. You have given me yourself, and what more could I ever need? You are my healing, my hope, my wholeness, my forever. Even if my body remains weak, my soul has already been made strong, for it rests in you. Even here, even now, even forever. Through Our Lady of Lourdes, I seal this prayer with trust. Not perfect trust, but offered trust. Not certain trust, but surrendered trust. Not strong trust, but trust leaning entirely upon grace. And that, I know, will be enough. for your strength has always been made perfect in weakness. And your love has always been drawn to the low places. Let my whole life become a testimony that healing is not always the removal of suffering, but the presence of unshakable love within it. And that love, once found, is the only healing I will ever truly need. Even here, even now, even always.